Welcome into another edition of Ringside Review. I am Athan Hristodulu, and as always, joined alongside by Matt Colpitts. We're diving into another edition of Monday Night Raw. A lot went on. King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring finals are officially set for Night of Champions. We've got a host of things that happened on Monday night as well we got to dive into. So, Matt, great to be back. We took a week off last week as I was on vacation. Shame on me, but had to make my way out to Florida for a little bit, but it's good to be back and talking wrestling with you. So we'll kick things off. I'll be honest with you, the Seth Rollins starting off Monday Night Raw thing is kind of getting old, just because I feel like he's just coming out and kind of rambling about something each and every single week. It seems like right now Penta is in his crosshairs. There's a piece of me that feels like that whole thing is just kind of a distraction for what's ultimately going to be something that we'll get into down the road that's going to happen with Seth. But it just kind of feels like right now they're buying their time with him and just waiting for the ultimate opportunity for him to actually cash in. And for me, it was not really a highlight. I guess just kind of like I don't want to call it a low light, but just kind of like a business as usual type of thing.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think it's giving vibes similar to when Cena first had turned heel, and it was like week by week by week, you're getting the same promo. So I completely agree. You took the words right out of my mouth. I think it's time that we get that moment, which ultimately will probably be what we're talking about later in this podcast, that finally clicks and you're like, okay, now the group and the heel turn is making sense, but we have not gotten that so far.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of waiting for something to happen. I will say, though, somebody who set up, honestly, and put me in a position where I'm more excited about this match than I initially thought I was going to be, because Gunther, I have got to highlight the way he set this up. From basically his mouth, he plans on basically ensuring that the legacy and the myth that is Goldberg ends at his hands and forever dies. The promo that he cut on Goldberg is the exact version of Gunther that I feel like I have been begging and pleading for however long now. And there was a point where when Gunther won that championship back from Jey Uso on Monday Night Raw a few weeks ago that I was like, where are we going with this? And then ultimately seeing the setup for Goldberg and Gunther, I thought to myself, oh my God, like they're going to put the title into this match for the sake of making it meaningful for Goldberg to go away. But then we got this side of Gunther, and now I'm starting to think and question here, are we possibly in a position right now where, yes, it's being billed as Goldberg's retirement match. This is it for him. But the title is involved. It's on the line. Could Gunther actually lose this match and set up Bill Goldberg to go on some type of miniature run just for the sake of like whatever the reasoning behind that would be? I genuinely don't know, but it feels like there's a possibility that maybe they're going that angle for the sake of surprising people, and it being on cable television, Saturday night's main event, that would be a place to do that. You see where I'm going with this?
No, absolutely. And unfortunately, it definitely is a possibility. But at least in my eyes, that's not one that I want to see happen at all. Even the whole fact that Goldberg's back, I've never really been the biggest Goldberg fan, let alone that they kind of did Jey Uso dirty, took his title, and now the title's on the line. I'm just not buying into it. But I do agree what you said about Gunther's promo. I think that really kind of turned the tide. Gunther's been doing a really good job recently, even with his feud with Jey Uso, making it personal, really kind of just selling it with his promos. So in that regard, I'm happy. I do hope it ends up just being a Gunther squash, move along. He's a transitional champion, whatever it is. I just do not want to see this title get in Goldberg's hands. I hope it is a one-and-done retirement match on cable, but you're not wrong, man. There is definitely a strong possibility it could end up being another Goldberg title win. But I just think back to The Fiend and how he beat him, and that just went south. So I don't want that to happen again.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that I'm kind of struggling with right now, is because we've seen it before. And yeah, the last time we really saw Goldberg in action, it wasn't necessarily the prettiest thing in the world. He damn near dropped Undertaker on his head and killed him. But at this point right now, I'm trying to connect dots and asking myself, just why would they be putting the strap on Gunther just so quickly and then throwing him into this program now with Goldberg? And obviously this is something they've been kind of teasing towards for a while now, since at least Bad Blood, maybe even longer than that. It's been something I feel like I've heard rumors about. I'm worried that they're going to try to pull something with Goldberg getting like this mini title run and maybe trying to have somebody else take it off of him. Like we've just seen it with Goldberg before, and I really hope this is not a rinse and repeat of that situation. To your point, I don't want to see it either. I really hope this winds up being just like two heavyweights going at each other, throwing bombs, let it be what it's supposed to be, and ultimately Gunther coming away with a win. But I love the promo. This is the style of Gunther I like. A guy that's out there, he's a killer. He's going after whoever he's going after, and he's making it loud and clear. The other thing that came out of Monday night that I'm really interested in seeing, because it was more so Sami Zayn's reaction than it was anything else, and that was the little confrontation that he and Karrion Kross had. Now, Karrion Kross has obviously been going after Sami Zayn for a while now, basically telling him, you're not world champion material, and he's been in his ear on Monday nights, on Friday nights, you name it. Karrion Kross is there, and he has just been going after and taunting Sami Zayn after each and every single match it seems Zayn has. Well, last night we get the impromptu interview with Sami Zayn and Jackie Redmond. She's asking him about the loss on Friday night. Karrion Kross comes in, does the whole shtick again. But then, like I said, the reaction from Sami Zayn, couple of words, and then a swift right hook to Karrion Kross. My question to you, because after seeing that, that's so not like Sami Zayn, and it feels somewhat like a heel. Is there a possibility that Karrion Kross, because it's clear based off that little interaction he and Scarlett had at the end after Sami Zayn walked away, this is what they wanted. Are they going to be able to put Sami Zayn in a position where he feels like he needs to actually turn heel to get the job done? Because you and I were in a completely different headspace just a few weeks ago with Sami Zayn and where he could end up before ending up losing his match in the semifinals of the King of the Ring tournament. So now I feel like we are approaching that heel turn that I feel like we have been waiting years for from Sami Zayn, like the true heel turn of Sami Zayn.
Yeah, man, I think it's possible, and I don't want to keep going back to like John Cena, but it almost feels like that. It's like where Cena finally wins his 17th championship, 18th championship, 17th. he had to turn heel to do so. And it feels like maybe for Sami, coming up short time and time again, just as a babyface, maybe it is time that he does a true heel turn. Not one where he ends up feuding with like Johnny Knoxville and is like a comedic heel, like a true heel turn.
Yeah.
So it's a possibility. I remember weeks ago on this podcast, there was one time where I think Jay had just won the championship and Sami came out to celebrate, and like he had a weird little pause where like it almost looked like he could be turning heel. And then Karrion Kross had been, in his ear week by week by week with Sami Zayn failing as a babyface, where it does feel like it's kind of hinting at that. I mean, you're perfectly fine with Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso as your top babyfaces right now. Sami could turn. They have the space and the capacity to do so and pull that off successfully. I want to see him win the big one, inevitably winning the world title, but maybe it does have to be as a heel at this point, and that's what I kind of like with this feud. Kross is getting over. I think at one point, or possibly still now, he's like a top merch seller, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
He's maybe done like 2 matches all year.
I was going to say, I couldn't tell you his last match. I could not tell you.
Exactly. So I love that, and I'm excited to see this feud. I'm glad that Kross will be getting on a PLE, but yeah, I think to answer your question, it's very possible that is the whole point of the storyline, to get a true kind of corrupted Sami Zayn just so desperate for that title win.
Yeah, and honestly, I know, drawing it back to the whole John Cena situation, that there's a parallel there. And to your point from earlier, when Jay first won the championship, that moment where everyone was like, is Sami Zayn about to turn heel? Like, first guy to come out to congratulate him. There was that little bit of awkwardness in the air of just like, why is Sami Zayn out here just like praising him up and down? It just felt like this is a good spot for that turn. And with the way Karrion Kross has been in his ear, and he finally gets under the skin of Sami Zayn to the point where Sami's doing something that, like I said, you get a cheap shot, like from Sami Zayn of all people. Like, that's not Sami Zayn. That's never been Sami Zayn. So I feel like we're in a position right now where we're this close. And I really, really hope WWE pulls the trigger on this one, because it's just one of those things I've personally wanted to see him do. And like you said, not in a comedic heel way. I want to see him actually be a heel, where he finally goes all in and realizes, being the good guy all the time and getting involved in everything else because you're trying to be on the good side of everything is not worth his time anymore. So I'm ready for it. And believe me, I am anticipating that final heel turn. And even if it's something where he ends up going and he's with Karrion Kross for a little bit and they wind up teaming up, like, that would be so out of left field, but I'd be here to see it just because it's something so new and different. Now, we've got to talk about the Judgment Day, because this has been something that you and I have gone back and forth about quite a bit. And now Liv Morgan getting hurt, dislocating her shoulder last week. She's gone until probably the early portion of 2026, it sounds like, because she had to get surgery. This wasn't just a pop it back in and you're good to go situation. Sounds like there was some serious structural damage there. Now, we have Raquel Rodriguez in the ring. And we got a little bit of a confrontation between her and Rhea Ripley. And this is another one of those things that we've talked about before, where WWE gives us things we didn't know we wanted. I did not even, there's no realm in my mind where I was thinking Raquel Rodriguez versus Rhea Ripley at some point. I need to see it after that brawl that they had in the ring. As the table was getting brought out, I was all in. I was here for it, and I wanted to see it happen. Now, of course, Roxanne Perez intervenes during the fight. She gives Raquel Rodriguez the upper hand. Rhea Ripley goes through a table, and here we are. For the very first time, we've seen Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez in a positive light together as they embraced at the end of the moment there. Roxanne Perez is the straw that is stirring the drink in the Judgment Day right now. And with Liv Morgan being gone, Finn Balor in the background, and the plan that he is laying out is unfolding perfectly. And by chance, on top of that, the internet's been talking about it. I've been seeing it be brought up a lot. There was the conversation that they were going to take the titles off of Raquel and Liv, but no, it sounds like WWE is going to keep them on Raquel. And something tells me Roxanne's taking her place after we saw the embrace last night.
Absolutely. And you, again, took the words right out of my mouth right at the end. I feel like this was just setting up for Roxanne to slide in, kind of fill Liv's spot. And yeah, I mean, I guess this whole storyline is kind of built around the jealousy of Finn Balor. He was the one that got pinned at WrestleMania by Dom. Leading up to that, it was always Dom getting all the opportunities, Dom getting all the spotlight. So I like it because I'm a huge Finn fan. I've wanted Finn to kind of get back to the world championship that he technically never lost because of injury.
Yeah.
I've wanted him to actually win a match and not be pinned Balor. So I like it. I like how it's developing. And obviously I would never wish injury on anyone. That's very, just awful the way that Liv got injured and is getting written off. But at the same time, for the storyline, it kind of makes sense that Liv is out of the picture, because then it's going to develop. You're going to see this new form of a Judgment Day without Liv in it. And it feels very much like the victims of the storyline will end up being Dom and Liv. So, yeah, it's kind of poetic how it did end up working out. Like, prayers up to Liv, hope the surgery goes well and she gets back ASAP. But storytelling-wise, it really does paint the picture well. Roxanne's going to slide right in there, and things are just going to continue kind of going Finn's way.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like super unfortunate injury, but almost a stroke of luck for the storytelling involved, because the dynamics of just the temptation that we've already seen kind of get thrown towards Dom's way, and also just the uncomfort levels that have been brewing within the Judgment Day as Roxanne and Liv have crossed paths over the last few weeks and she got back from the movie that she was in. There is a really good story to tell here, and let me ask you this. Is there a world where we go down the road months from now, maybe Roxanne Perez finds herself holding some sort of championship, whether it's a world championship, women's intercontinental, whatever it may be, Liv coming back, and then we have ourselves a singles feud within the Judgment Day between Liv, between Roxanne, for basically all the marbles in Judgment Day on top of a championship being involved?
Absolutely, and I think that is the payoff. The only other match you can really point to is a Dom versus Finn one-on-one kind of feud. But for Liv's side of things, absolutely. I mean, Roxanne is the pawn that kind of got inserted into the storyline. That's what they're running with, and it makes sense. You just pick the new rookie, the new shiny toy for kind of Dom's character to chase, because at this pace, he's going for that like womanizer type persona, just always bouncing from one person to the next. So it makes sense. And I do see that happening, where Liv's going to come back, have to kind of have that big final match. And will it go her way? Will it not? TBD. But it does seem like that's what they're setting up for.
I'm really looking forward to it, man. I really am. It's one of those things where I keep going back to, I feel like we had this conversation months ago where I was like, I feel like the Judgment Day is getting stale. In comes Roxanne Perez, and it's just all over again. That wheel keeps on turning, and the Judgment Day's been going for it feels, 4 years now? They never end, but they always find a way to be in the spotlight in some capacity. And that's you've got to give all the credit in the world to everyone involved in that stable, because it's not easy to have a story especially with a group, stay as relevant as it is, go through the ebbs and flows of having really high highs and even some low lows, but they just constantly find their way back to the top of the card, or they're on the show 3, 4, 5 different times a night. The last thing we got to get into, though, of course, the highlights of the night, as Night of Champions has basically been set in stone from top to bottom for the card. We had ourselves both the King and Queen of the Ring matches firmly set in place, as we have Asuka taking on Jade Cargill, and we of course have Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton going head to head. Now, I will say this, the money is of course in the Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes matchup. That's something that we've been waiting for 3 years now. And for me personally, I'm a little bit disappointed we never got a Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes championship match during his initial run. I'm sure there's plenty of opportunity for that down the line, but I'm just disappointed because I was hoping that first meeting between the two of them would have ultimately been for a championship in some capacity. However they got there, totally up to them, but I just would have loved to see it. On the flip side, the women's match, I'm not really sure how I feel about this. Like, I'm excited to have Asuka back. She is an unbelievable wrestler, and what she does in the ring is it's second to none. Jade Cargill, on the other hand, it's just a weird pairing, and it's a match that almost feels, and for what it's worth, it's a tournament. It's going to feel thrown together because that's how it is. But there is a logical story behind Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes that I think has helped lifting that matchup a little bit more. Whereas the women's side, it just feels like two women that are vying for a world championship, no more, no less.
Yeah, and I do see that, especially when you're up against Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes as your opposing matchup. But I think I would like to disagree in a sense where I'm actually kind of excited for that women's match because I think it's two heavy hitters. I really hope that they're building Asuka back up because for a while she's been taking a back seat. You know, she was a tag champ, and then she was really just kind of riding the coattails of Io Sky for a while. So I'm hoping that if she is to win, it's leading to a match with Io Sky in the future. But on the flip side, I feel like I can't really see Jade losing. I feel like the story there is to build up to her eventually getting the title when Naomi's got the briefcase. But I think to your point where Jade is still, kind of green, Jade isn't really necessarily flowing too well yet. She still has a lot to learn. I think where we've had all these theories about the Money in the Bank cash-ins and protecting people, they can get that title reign, but they don't have to actually do a title reign. I feel like that's one of those situations where Jade can win the title, get a championship to her name, but she's not gonna have to do a reign. She's not gonna have to go and do all these big matches because Naomi will be right there to take it from her. So that's why I feel like it's kind of hard to bet against Jade in this. But I agree. I think there's not necessarily as compelling as a story, and there just can't be when Randy and Cody have literally been in legacy and coming through all of Cody's career. So the story may not be there, but I am excited to see who pulls out because either way, both winners make sense in terms of who's the champion or who's Miss Money in the Bank. But yeah, I'm excited for both, and I do think Randy and Cody is the icing on the cake, other than Cena and Punk at Night of Champions.
Yeah. That's a really good way to put that because the way now that I'm thinking about it more, for me, I feel like I just kind of felt like it's inevitable Asuka wins. I feel like you were saying, they want to get her back to the level that she should be at as one of the best women's wrestlers. Honestly, one of the best wrestlers just in wrestling at this current moment here. Fantastic with what she does. And for me, I feel like I think of Asuka during her initial days in WWE and the dominance that she had and just the unbelievable streak of wins she had going on. I want them to get back to that in some capacity. It obviously can't ever reach that level again. The streak that she had was broken eventually, but I would love to just see her kind of go on a run like that again because she's obviously capable of it. She's so charismatic too. So it's and then we also got the tease between her and Io backstage. Her, Io's being back in the day when we were in Damage Control, I was talking about me and you, and she flat out is we're not in Damage Control anymore. So I mean, for me, I was just seeing that and going, well, that's your story, it's got to be Asuka, right? But that's a great point. Money in the Bank briefcase is on SmackDown, Naomi is holding it, so maybe a little bit more of a up in the air result than I thought there was. Now on the flip side, Cody and Randy Orton, is there any way that Cody Rhodes doesn't win this match? I just feel like we've already seen Randy Orton and John Cena, and I don't really envision them putting that match up again, although the first time around was a banger, and I'm all for them doing it again. I just don't think they're going to do that. I don't really see how the end result isn't Cody Rhodes going on to SummerSlam to face, I'm assuming, John Cena inevitably, because I'd be shocked if CM Punk takes the belt off of John Cena at Night of Champions.
Yeah, I agree. I do think it's pretty clear cut, and sometimes you don't have to complicate it. Just like we were predicting Money in the Bank, and we're like, is anyone winning besides Seth Rollins? This very much feels like Cody Rhodes' crown to win. With Randy, I feel like he's only there because it is a dream match, like you had said. We've wanted Rhodes Orton, this iteration of Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton for so long, and we're getting it, just like we're getting Punk and Cena. But I feel like, yeah, I guess it is just so easy to realize that it's just going to be Cena and Cody again at SummerSlam. Maybe it is just for Cody to take the title back. I mean, you just saw Gunther literally get his title back. So maybe all along they've wanted Gunther and Cody to kind of be the champions for pretty much these past year or two. It's just, get it off their hands for a little bit and have a transitional champ. But I'm excited. I do think that Randy has still been putting on bangers, but I think he's a little lost. Even though he's getting all these main event programs, there's nothing really compelling with his story other than him kind of getting the legend credit, Kind of like Roman Reigns nowadays. He doesn't even show up, yet he's just, he earned it because he's Roman Reigns. That's kind of the vibe I get with Randy Orton. He did have a great program with Cena just now, but I don't really know where he goes from here. I don't see him winning. I just feel like he needs something, whether it's a heel turn or some promo where he's like, I need one last title before I retire. I'm done in X amount of months, to really kind of like sell you on Randy Orton's tail end of his career, because it hasn't been doing it for me, at least recently or presently. And I'm hoping that maybe this matchup with Cody can spark something in Randy Orton.
Yeah, I feel like ultimately we need a heel Randy Orton trying to take the title off of Cody down the line, and maybe that's the route they end up going. Having Randy Orton in this match, because it is a dream match against Cody, it makes a lot of sense to me. I get it. I just wish that there was a little more belief in one side winning over the other. Now, if it's Cody, what is the end result here? I'm just curious, because if he's the logical answer and he's facing Cena at SummerSlam, is it just cut and dry? Cody's getting the title back, and that we go wherever John Cena goes from there?
I know we had actually talked about that, maybe a week ago or not too long ago, and I was pretty certain Cena was just hanging on to the title for a while. But the more I've thought about it and sat with it, I want to say yes. I feel like it is actually kind of cut and dry that maybe the title is going back to Cody. Cody is the American Nightmare. Cody is the one that's going to be getting all your merch. I saw they did a Fanatics Fest in New York, like highlight package. It was just glittered with Cody Rhodes and like Tom Brady making his entrance to Cody Rhodes. WWE is very much acknowledging that Cody Rhodes is the guy, the baby face. So he's inevitably going to get the title back. With Cena, I think there's a little bit more story there of like he needs some failure. He needs to realize that what he's done is wrong. Whole redemption arc to become a face. I feel like that's a little hard to do if he's still the champion. So now that I've sat with it, I do think it's a little more cut and dry that Cody would be winning at SummerSlam. I wouldn't have said that a week ago, but looking at how the cards are playing out, I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's unfortunate when things feel that cut and dry, but for the long-term storytelling, I guess it makes sense. But we'll have to find out. Night of Champions is this Saturday. Sure, plenty to look forward to. We'll have a ton of stuff to talk about next Tuesday. Matt, as always, pleasure talking wrestling with you. And for those of you watching, as always, you made it to the end. We greatly appreciate it. We'll see you all next Tuesday following another edition of Monday Night Raw.